Hi team, good morning. So let's start it. So in the last session, we have seen about the physical backups and we have completed the physical backups. Now we can start the logical backups. So basically in the logical backups, we are going to cover about the introduction of logical replication, architecture, and what is the publication and what is subscription and what are the features of logical replication and at what scenarios we can use the logical replication, and we will also see the limitation of logical replication and what are the parameters that we need to enable for logical replication, and we'll also see what are the new features added for logical replication in version 15 and 16. Okay, so basically, as we know in the physical replication, it's a block to block replication. We have to replicate the entire cluster from master to slave, right? So whereas in logical replication, we have feasibility to replicate a specific schema or a specific table, whatever the objects which we need. So we can replicate as a part of logical replication. Only thing is, if you want to add a table in the replication, the table must have at least a unique key or primary key to uniquely identify the replication. Okay, so if your table does not have any primary key, your inserts will replicate, but you will face an issue while you do the updates and deletes. So that we'll see practically. If you don't have primary key, what issues we get in the logical replication. Okay, so it's always high recommended that if you want to add any tables in logical replication, we should have at least a unique key or primary key as a part of logical replication. Okay, to uniquely identify the replication, we should have this. And since in logical replication it's not a full cluster, we have feasibility to add a set of tables or the entire schema as well we can add in the logical replication. Okay. And logical replication uses something called publish and subscribe model basically. So what is a publish and what is subscribe model? So basically at the source side, we are going to add publisher, and at the target side, we are going to add the subscriber. Okay. So basically what is a publisher? So if you want to add any tables as a part of logical replication, we are going to create a publisher and we add those tables to the publisher. Okay. And at the subscriber side, we are going to register this publisher, which is a part of the replication, and the subscriber will connect to the publisher and it fetch the data as it generated from the source. Okay. We'll understand deeply what is publisher and subscriber. So for now, at the source side, we have to create the publisher, and at the target side, we have to create the subscriber. Okay. And here, one publisher can able to have or register, okay, multiple subscribers as well. Okay. So that we'll see how we can enable that. For one publisher, we can also have the multiple subscriber as well. If you want to replicate from multiple sources to one database, in that situation, we can use this. Okay. And whenever you create any subscriber, okay, subscriber will connect to the publication and it pulls the data since we have already subscribed that publisher, right? So it pulls the data basically. Okay, and in logical replication can work in any kind of complex replication, like if you want to enable the cascade replication or any still complex replication technique, you can use the logical replication. It's very easy. Only thing is you have to create the publisher and subscriber based on your requirement. If you want to create multiple publishers and you want to add some set of schemas in one publisher and some set of other schema in one publication, and you may create one subscription or multiple subscription, okay, based on your requirement. We have this much of flexibility. So because of this flexibility, you get an opportunity to set up a replication even in a complex like cascade replication or broadcast replication or multicast replication. So this kind of replication you can play with the logical replication. So basically logical replication architecture looks like this. We have a source system and we have a target system. or maybe we can consider primary or standby or source and target, because this is not a role, right? Because your role will be same. It will be in read-only mode. Sorry, not read-only, read-write mode, right? Both the systems will be read-write mode. We can call it as a source system and target system. And if you want to have a replication, logical replication between source and target, first we have to create a publisher, okay? And then we are going to create a subscription at the target, okay? Once the publisher has been created, you have to add what are the tables you need to be a part of logical replication. Okay, so if you add those tables in the publisher, then um, yeah. So if you want to add a few set of tables in the publisher, which is a part of your logical replication, those changes anyhow will be captured in the wall files. Okay, so once the changes has been captured, your subscribe, whenever you create a subscribe, you will define and you register the your publisher, right? It connects to the publisher with the help of IP address and username, and it also creates a replication slots. This replication slot is something logical replication slot, not a physical replication slot. So we know the use of replication slots, right? So replication slots is keep on monitoring your replication. If your target system is out of sync, it keeps track of those gap, and it will not purge any archives in the source system, right? So this is called logical replication. Here we are going to create, and whatever the changes which you are doing at the primary side, those will be written in some format, like decoded format, we can say. And this decoded format changes will be captured by wall center at the source side, and it generates in the form of logical messages. Okay, finally it generates in the form of logical messages. So those logical messages will be pushed to the subscriber or target system. In the target system, we have a process called logical replication launcher. Okay, this logical replication launcher, what it does, it generates or it spawns the worker process, like logical replication workers, based on the parameter which you have set. Okay, so this logical replication launcher will spawns this logical replication worker. This worker process receives the logical messages from the wall center and it apply to the target system. So this is how the logical replication architecture looks like. So first we need to create the publication here or publisher. We have to add the tables or schema, which is a part of your logical replication. And whatever the changes which has in the source finally will come to the wall files. From wall files, it has a separate format for logical replication, which is the logical messages. In the form of logical messages, it will send. Wall sender will send the messages or data to the target system. In the target, we have logical replication launcher process where it spawns the number of worker process, and this worker process will apply the changes to the subscriber. Okay, and we have the replication slots to monitor the replication. This is how the logical replication works. And now we understand better what is the publisher and what is the subscriber. Okay, we will understand in the coming slides. Yeah. So basically publication has to be defined at the master side. Okay, and this kind of setup is called publisher, we can say. Basically we are going to create a publication at the source side or master side. Okay, so this we are going to call as publisher, and publication may contains a set of tables or a single table or all tables in that schema or a database. Okay, we are going to add, while creating the publication, we are going to add those tables to be captured as a part of this publisher. Okay, it may be a database level, or if you want to add a set of tables, okay, or you don't want all the tables, you want only a set of tables, you can define only those tables, okay, in a group to the publication. And the important thing is, for each database, you have to create a separate publication. Publication belongs to one-to-one relation for database. It's not like we cannot create multiple publications at one database. We have to create, if you want to add the other database as a part of logical replication, you have to go and create a separate publication for that database. Okay. In one database, you can have n number of publication, but if you want to use the other database publication in other database, it's not possible. Okay, you have to create separate publications for the separate databases. This publication belongs to database level. This is one important point which we need to remember. Okay, and we can add multiple sets of tables or multiple groups of tables, and you can create multiple publications as well, but in a single database. You cannot use the other database publication. And we also have a choice that we can add all tables with all options instead of specifying table names. Okay, you can just mention you want to replicate all the tables in this particular schema. Okay, you can just mention this all tables option, but you need a super user privilege basically. This is up to version 14, but from version 15 you have separate role. If a user have that role, you can able to create this replication. Okay, that we are going to discuss in the features of version 15. Okay, so for now the important thing is we have to, at the source side or master side, we have to create publication. In the publication we have to add a set of tables or group of tables or all the tables as a part of replication. And you can also divide separate groups of tables. If you want to replicate the historical data, you can create a separate publication for historical data, and transactional data you can create separate publication, some set of group of tables, and you can add in the publication side. Okay, and if you want to add all tables, you can just use all tables option, but it requires a super user until version 14. Now let's understand the subscription. So basically subscription we are going to add at the target side or standby side. Okay, and this setup is called subscriber basically. And when you create the subscriber, you have to define the publication, which publication you want to replicate as a part of logical replication. So we register the publication name in the subscriber. For example, you have publication 1 and you are going to create a subscriber. You have to register that publication 1 from the source, and whatever the tables which you added as a part of that publication, this subscriber will connect to the source database, which is a publication, and it fetches the data as it generated from the source. Okay, and so here basically if you think about Oracle, we have golden gate concept, right? So when you want to set up the replication for the gold with the help of golden gate, you are going to do an initial load basically. But here in Postgres we don't have, just a second. Yeah, sorry. So basically in Oracle, if you see, when we are going to replicate with the golden gate, so we are doing something called initial load, right? So from there golden gate will capture and keeps on the data sync. But here in Postgres, as a part of logical replication, when you create the subscription, automatically it does the data snapshot. Okay, it will take the initial load whenever you create the subscription. At that moment only it does the initial load. We don't need specifically to do a initial load, okay, separately. So when you create the subscription, we are going to register the publication into this subscription, and whenever the subscription is created at that time, the logical replication automatically copies a snapshot of your data, which is a part of your publication objects. For example, you added some 100 tables in the publisher. All 100 tables data snapshot will be captured when you create the subscription. From there, after the snapshot, from there, whatever changes it happens in the publication, it automatically replicates to the subscription. Okay. So we don't want to worry about the initial load. Okay. It will take care of your snapshot of your data. And subscription we can add with the help of create subscription command. And even if you want to change any options, so we have so many options in the subscription side which they have added in 15 and 16 version. Mostly they have added. Okay, so with the help of alter subscription we can add options, and if you want to remove we can use the drop subscription option. That we see practically how we can create the subscription and how we can resume the replication and how we can alter the replication, how to drop the replication. These things we can see. Okay, this is how the subscription works. Now we can understand some features of logical replication as well as some drawbacks of logical replication. Okay, as we know, so in logical replication we have flexibility to replicate a specific set of tables or specific set of databases. It's not the entire block to block copy. Like physical replication, we can have flexibility to add our own objects as a part of logical replication based on our business requirement. The only thing is it should have a primary key or unique key to be created. At least one primary key and one unique key should have in the table. Either primary key or unique key should work. Okay, if we don't have primary key, then we will get issues. Okay, so in the logical replication. So what issues we will face, that we'll see practically one demo how we can overcome this kind of issues. If your table doesn't have any primary key, you added by mistake without checking anything, you added in the publication. Later you will face some issues when you do the update and delete operation. So if you face that issue, how we can overcome also we can see, but that is not a recommended way. So we should have at least a primary key or a unique key for a table, which is a part of your logical replication. Okay. So with this flexibility, we can have different structure from both the source and target, right? So because your target system also will be in read write mode, so you should not have a same structure of your database, right? It can be different definition as well. For example, you have some 100 tables and you are going to replicate only some 50 tables as a part of logical replication, and the other 50 tables structure can be different. Even the tables which is a part of your replication also can be different. Okay, no problem in that. The structure can be different, but the thing is table name should be same, and the columns order can be different, but column names and data type should be same. Okay, that conditions we'll see what conditions should be satisfied for the logical replication when it comes to the different structure. Okay, and you can also have the different indexes, different constraints, but recommended thing is you should have the same, which is a part of replication, right? But you have this much flexibility because your target system also in read write mode, right? But the thing is, if you allow the connections at the target system, you may end up with some constraint issues or any violations, right? So it's not recommended to allow the connections, which is a part of your logical replication. You can only allow the read-only connections. Okay. So you have something called bidirectional replication in version 16. From there, you can allow connections even write. Even if you do some operations in the target, it also replicates to the source. So in the bidirectional, it is possible. And one more important thing is you can have different versions, different platforms. Okay, you can able to replicate the logical replication from Windows to Linux operating system and different versions from 12 to 15, from 12 to 16. Okay, from 15 to 16, you can replicate different versions and different platforms as well. This logical replication. Okay, and when you do any upgrades, okay, this will helpful because your target system can be different version and your source system can be different. So you have good flexibility for this logical replication. And you can create a number of publications and subscriptions based on your requirement. You can add a set of tables in one publication, another set of tables in other publication, you can replicate. Okay. And this is mainly used as discussed when you are doing any upgrades or any maintenance activity or any migrations. If you want to migrate from on-premise to cloud, okay, you have flexibility of this logical replication. These are the features of logical replication. Basically, you can have different structure, you can have different versions and different platforms. And whenever you do any upgrades or migrations, you don't need to worry about the replication side. It will replicate even the different versions and platforms. But whereas physical replication, you should have the same platform, same minor version, right? If you do a major upgrade in the physical replication, you need to follow some different method. Okay, you have to immediately do your standby as well. You have to break sometime the replication. Okay, so based on your setup, you have to do. But logical replication, you have this flexibility. And we can discuss what are the in which scenarios we can use the logical replication basically. So if you have a requirement that you need to replicate multiple databases into one single source, okay, maybe for analytical purpose or maybe any business intelligent team needs to report any need to pull any reports for any analytical purpose or research purpose, you can use this logical replication. You can have a multiple publication and you can replicate into one single subscription. Okay, and even you can have different major versions as well. So if you want to set up a replication between two major versions, you can go with a logical replication because we don't have flexibility in physical replication. And so the important thing is, okay, so we can create different database sets. Okay, so it's not like you have to replicate the entire cluster. You can create a different data sets or different publication sets, and it does the incremental changes. Okay, whatever the changes which happens, okay, you can able to replicate that as well. Okay, and even you can have flexibility that different set of users can also access the replication data. Okay, that we'll see what role we need for the users. Okay, that we'll see in the coming slides. And now we also have some limitations as well in logical replication. One limitation is the tables which you are adding as a part of replication should have the primary key or unique key at least. Okay, and one big drawback in the logical replication is it does not support the DDL replication. For example, you want to create any index at the source, it will not replicate in the target. All the DDL statements like create, alter statements will not work as a part of replication. This is working from version 17. They have introduced from version 17 this even it is supporting DDL, but up to version 17 we don't have DDL replication as a part of logical replication. If you want to do any DDLs, like if you want to add any column, if you want to create index, parallelly you should also do in the target system as well manually. This is one big drawback. Okay, this has been overcome from version 17. But until version 17, DBA has to take care of doing DDL operations in both source and target side. Okay, and since the structure of your source system and target system is different, when you add any tables in the replication, okay, the thing is you should have the table name, full qualified name should be same between publication and subscription. For example, you have a table EMP in the source, you want to add that in the replication, the table name EMP should also be same in the target at the subscription side. It cannot be different. Okay, and when coming to columns, the column data type should be same between source and target, but the column order can be different. It doesn't matter that if you have 10 columns and column 1, 2, 3 and so on in the source, you can have different order, column 10, 9 something in the target. So the order is not a problem, but the data type should be same. It should match between publication and subscription. Table name and data type should be matched, but column order can be different. Okay, table name, column name and data type should be same, but order can be different. Okay, and until version 15 or 16, you should have a super user privilege if you want to add any tables in the replication. Like if you want to create any publication, if you want to create any subscription, you should have a super user privilege. But I think from 16 or 15, they have added a new role. If you give that role to the user, any user can create a publication subscription. That we'll see in which version it comes in the coming slides. So these are some limitations this is one big limitation which they have overcome from version 17. And even there is no option to replicate bidirectional replication until version 15. From version 16, you can also do a bidirectional replication, similarly like Golden Gate. Okay. So still they have added so many features in version 15 and 16 that we are going to discuss in the coming slides. Now let's discuss what are the main parameters that is a part of your logical replication. So as usual, we have to add wall underscore level. Okay, wall underscore level. Previously in physical replication, we used to do replica, but here we have to use logical. So logical is the highest priority in wall level, which will write more information, okay, in the wall files. For logical replication, it should have a logical to write that much information in the wall files. And as usual, we have max wall centers and max replication slots. These are the default parameters because we have background process wall center, right? And at the replication side also, we have replication launcher, okay? So you should enable these two parameters as well. So these are the three main parameters which we need to enable as a part of logical replication. And there is no any other parameters. Only these three parameters are the important parameters. And as usual, you have listener port, archive mode. So these are the mandatory parameters, okay? But for as a part of logical replication, these are the three main important parameters. Now let's discuss what are the features they added as a part of logical replication version 15. Okay, so in version 15, there is something option called alter subscription skip option. So what is this option? Basically, if you have any conflict, since your target system having different structure, okay, you may get conflict. Like for example, you have so you have not created any unique index or maybe any unique constraint on a particular column at the source side, but you created at the target side. Okay, what happens basically? You can insert duplicate in the target. Sorry, in the source. It will allow duplicate in the source because you don't have any constraint on that particular column. So you can insert duplicate values in the source. But at the target side, you have created a constraint for on that particular column. So what happens? The replication will get failed and your subscription will be disabled. Since you have issue on one table, the entire replication will break. Okay, your subscription will end. Similarly, like Golden Gate, right? So in Golden Gate, if any constraints you have any constraint violations, so the Golden Gate will abend. Okay, you have to see the report file and you have to check what is the issue and you have to skip that repairer, right? So similarly, this option has been introduced in version 15. You have something called alter subscription skip option where you can skip that particular transaction as a part of replication with the help of disable on error settings. So when you create the subscription, you have to create it with disable on error. Okay. So if you do this, you don't have any issues. Okay. And you can skip that particular transaction if you have any conflicts. Okay, this we will see practically so that you will understand better. This is similarly like in Golden Gate, if you want to skip any transaction at the target, you will add the rep error in the parameter file and you restart the Golden Gate replication, right? Similarly, you can skip that particular transaction with the help of alter subscription skip. Okay, that particular LSN it will generate in alert log. We have to capture that LSN and we have to skip the transaction. If you have any conflicts, we can resolve this. This feature they have added in version 15. Okay. And one more feature is, so you have flexibility to have a replication in specific columns, not all columns. So for example, you have a requirement that I don't want to replicate the entire table. I want only some set of columns. You have to hide some columns at the target system. Okay, for example, you have some 5 columns, you want to add only 2 columns as a part of logical replication. In that scenario, you have flexibility to specify a column in the publication, not the entire table. So this feature they added in the version 15. Okay. And So basically, there is one more important feature they added in version 15, which is row filter. So row filter something if you want to replicate some set of data based on some condition, where condition, okay, you can filter the data from the source and you can replicate only that condition, whatever it satisfies. Okay, only that data it can replicate. So this option also they have added in version 15, which is good feature, which is a row filter. So you can filter your data based on some where condition and you can only replicate that condition data to the target, not the entire table. Some row filter criteria also you have in version 15. And they have introduced one more new dictionary view called PG stat subscription, which is very useful. Okay, this from this you can check the status, like what if you have any errors in the subscription. So previously you have to only check the alert log. If your subscriber is getting failed, you have to check the alert log. So there is no specific view that you have to see any errors. Okay, they have introduced a new view where it will capture all the error messages and it also checks the status. You can also check the status of your subscription workers, and if it throws any error, you can also check from this view. So these are some new good features they've added in logical replication version 15. Okay, so now let's see what are the features they added in version 16 as well. So in version 16, still they added very good features. The one of the best so one of the best new feature is bidirectional replication. Okay, this is something called bidirectional replication with origin. Okay, this we are going to discuss in coming slides. What is the bidirectional with origin? So basically, in version 16, they also added, for example, you have a physical replication with a streaming replication. Okay, you have a target, the standby system. So for the standby instance also, you can able to create a logical replication. So this feature they added in version 16. So for physical standby setup, your standby server also you can able to set up a replication. Okay, that feature they added in version 16. And so they have also added one more feature called parallel workers. Okay, so basically if you are doing very long transactions and you may see up to version 15 some lag in the replication because of the long running transaction. Even in the Golden Gate also we used to see, right? In Golden Gate we have parallel replication option. Similarly, they have introduced in version 16 parallel workers. So whenever you do any transactions in the source, okay, in the publication side, it parallelly it applies in the target side. So with the help of parallel workers, so by default it is 2. We can increase the parallel workers. Okay, what parameters that we'll see. Okay, which we need to enable. And one more main important thing is whenever we create a subscription at the target side, okay, it does a initial load as well, right? It copies the entire snapshot of your data. But from version 16, so until version 15, it used to do a text format of the replication for data snapshot, but they have introduced something called binary format. Okay, with the help of binary format, you can able to sync the initial load very fast. Okay, when you create a subscription, if you have like huge number of data at the source side. Okay, so this feature also they have added in version 16. And bidirectional replication, this is very good feature they have added in version 16. Until version 15, if you try to add a bidirectional replication, you have some issues called loop. Okay, your data will keep on looping when you set up the bidirectional replication. This issue they have overcome in version 16 with the help of new parameters, something called origin. So with the help of this origin parameters, the bidirectional replication is working perfectly from version 16. And yeah, this is the new role which I'm talking about, PG create subscription. So if you grant this role to any user, and that user can able to create the logical subscriptions. Okay, you don't have to be super user. These roles they have introduced in version 16. So if you grant this role to any user, that user can able to create the subscription. You don't need to be a super user for this. Okay, so these are the new features that they added in the version 16. The first feature is you can able to set up a logical replication from a standby instance. This is one thing. And because of this, you can distribute your load across the different systems. And the next feature is parallel workers at the subscription side. If you create the subscription with parallel option, it will replicate parallelly with the help of multiple workers, and your replication will be fast. And they have introduced something called binary format while doing the initial load while creating the subscription. Okay, that feature also they added in version 16, and there is something called bidirectional replication with origin option. So this all we'll see one by one. Okay, first we'll see what is a bidirectional replication. As discussed, from until version 15, you have something issue called looping. Okay, so when you set up bidirectional replication until version 15, your replication will not replicating perfectly. Like you have something issue called looping. When you insert some data in the source, it's keep on loop. Okay, that data, if you insert one insert, it's keep on looping, and the data, same data is repeating continuously. Even if you add in the target also the same issue. So to overcome this, they have introduced something called origin new parameters from version 16, which will help you to replicate both the ways. Okay, so for this origin we have to tell. So there are some new two options in the origin parameter. One is none and one is any. If you mention any, sorry, none, okay, your subscription will only request the publication to send the changes whatever you have done at the source side. Okay, this will help you to avoid the infinite loop in the bidirectional replication setup. So this is something which is a good feature. There are some new parameters for origin. In the subscription side, you have to add these parameters. Okay, whether you need origin equal to none or origin equal to any. If you give any, publisher will send changes regardless of your origin. Okay, which means this will tend to by default it will be any. Okay, until version 15. If you mention none, then you don't have any issue. If you mention any, you may end up with a infinite loop bidirectional replication when you configure. Okay, so it's recommended to go with the none option in origin parameter at the subscription side, which will work perfectly from version 16. Now this is something called binary copy, which they have introduced from version 16 until version 15. Previous versions, whenever you create any subscription, basically it also do a snapshot, right, or initial load of your data. So until version 15, it used to do with the text format. Okay, but from version 16, it is doing with binary copy option, which is very fast. Okay, we know that copy command basically your Postgres will use, right, to fetch the data. Even when you do the pg dump, it copies the data with a copy command. Copy command is 100 times faster than your insert statement, right? So if you do a pg dump with the insert statement option, it generates with the inserts. And when you do import, it takes hours. Okay, but when you do with the copy command, it will be minutes. So internally they will use the copy command and binary format they are using. So in the binary format, you have some restriction called you should have the same data types at the source and target. If you have different data types, then your binary copy will end up with some issues. Okay, this is something which we should strictly follow for whenever you are creating any subscription. And from version 16 by default, they are using the binary format, which is very, very fast. Like we could say from when comparing with version 15 and 16, 30 to 40% of your data load is faster than text format. Okay, binary format is 40 or until 40% it is faster than your text format. Okay, so this binary copy option we have to use at the subscription side. So the subscription side, if you see, they added so many features and you need to use the options based on your requirement. Okay, So this is something which they have introduced from version 16. And you have parallel processing subscription. So which means you can use the parallel workers at the from version 16, you can use the parallel workers from at the subscription side, so that so basically when you do create statement, right, for creating the subscription. So from version 16, now it is supporting the parallel option, okay, and parallel workers. So when you perform any long running transaction, your parallel workers will apply those changes very fast, which will improve your performance from version 16. So this is one good feature. So when you use the parallel option, what it does is internally it will allocate multiple background worker process, and that worker process will take care of applying those changes parallelly, and it will be very fast so that it improves your performance. Okay, this is one feature they added. And while creating the subscription, you have to define the parallel worker process, how many parallel worker process you need. Okay, by default it is 2. You can increase based on your CPUs. Okay, this is something you have to define by creating the subscription. And these are the 2 parameters. So you have to use. Okay, so if you want to define the number of parallel workers and you want to control that, so you have an parameter called max parallel apply worker per subscription. So there is one more dependent parameter also, which is maximum parallel worker process. Okay, if you want to change this, you also want to change that parameter. So both are dependent. So you should change these 2 parameters when you want to increase your parallel process, parallel workers, okay, at the subscription side. Okay, this is something which this parameter you have to remember when you while creating subscription. By default it is 2. Okay, it will pick the 2. If you want to use more, you can increase this value. And this is one more feature they have. You can use the logical replication from standby itself. Okay, this also they have introduced from PostgreSQL 16. So in the standby cluster, you can create the publication as well. So basically it won't allow any write operations, right? But it allows the create publication utility from version 16. So that from physical standby only you can replicate. This will help you to reduce the load from the primary, right? So you already have a physical replication setup. And if you want to do any upgrades or something, maybe you have some requirement that you want to replicate. So you want to replicate from standby instead of primary, because primary, if you replicate, the load may be increased, right? So you want to reduce the burden, you can just go directly to the standby, physical standby, which is read-only mode, but it allows create publication commands. Okay, and you can create the publication from the physical standby server, and from the standby you can replicate to the target system. This feature they added in version 16. This will help you for you also have the high availability for the physical replication, as well as you also have the work distribution as well. And you can also use this system for any reporting purpose or any editing purpose as well, right? So these are the new features they have introduced in version 16. Yeah, so that's it for theoretical part. Probably tomorrow we can catch up for the practical part. Okay, so we can see all scenarios practically, how we can create the logical replication and what are the things that we need to take care of as a part of your logical replication. And we'll see scenarios once you create a logical replication, later you want to add any tables to the replication. Okay, you already have a logical replication setup, but you have a requirement that you need to add new tables as a part of logical replication. Okay, even that you can able to do. Okay, how to add a new tables as a part of logical replication, how we can add those tables to the publication, that we will see. And we will also see few scenarios, like if you want to add any column to the source, how you can handle it. Okay, and if you want to create replication without primary key for a table, how we can handle that scenarios. Okay, that we will see. And we also covered Yeah, any questions? Someone is trying to ask some questions.
Hey, one question was from me. Suppose this is the standby, and from standby also we can create replication to some downstream somewhere else, right?
Yes.
So how will that be handled in case of a switchover? If you do a switchover of primary to standby?
Yeah, if you do a switchover, you have to break the replication. You have to disable the publication, and once you do switchover, later you can add it again. Okay, so anyhow, you have to disable the subscription, and again you have to enable to have that subscription. Again, you have to register. So if you plan to switch over, definitely you have to break the replication for some particular point of time. You have to disable the publication and subscription, and later you have to add it again. So only that is the option.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, and we will also cover how we can, if you have any conflicts, okay, how we can do the conflicts situation, how we can skip this subscription. We'll see this also practically. Something called disable on error option. So these conflicts can be resolved, okay, automatically. We can disable the entire subscription, something called disable on error settings, okay. And we'll also see how the row filter, okay, if you want to replicate some set of data based on some condition, okay, only that we can do with the help of row filter. This also we'll see practically. And we will also see how we can replicate only a specific set of columns as a part of your replication. Even this we'll see, okay? Yeah, so mostly we'll see all the scenarios, okay, in practical. So maybe tomorrow we will try to do a logical replication setup practically, okay? Any other questions? Yeah, if no one has any questions, probably we can close today and we can catch up tomorrow for practical part for the logical replication, and we'll see all the scenarios. Okay, then thank you for your time.
Thank you.